Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Chatterbox, and I'm delighted to say we're joined by the one and only Callum Johnson. Callum, how's retirement treating you, brother?
I'm good. I'm getting big and fat.
It's the only way.
I know all about that, by the way. I know all about that completely. When you say fat, Callum, like high fat, what sort of weight are you?
I've not. Last time I got on the scales, I was over 15 stone. So I'd imagine I'm close to 16 now. To be fair.
You coming in at heavyweight. You ever thought about it? Is there any part of you that craves getting back in the ring?
Yeah, I think so. There is. I was hitting the bag. I had like 10 weeks off doing anything, and I started hitting the bag, and I thought I was quite sharp still, and I was punching very hard with this extra weight, and I thought, do you know what? I reckon I could do Derek Chisora.
You know what? I might ring him now. I'll ring him now. We'll set it up. Don't worry. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure we can get it done on BT.
Hey, listen, Derek, if you want it, I'm here.
Now, I know you had a brilliant career, British, Commonwealth, WBO, Global Light Heavyweight champ, and you had a crack for the world title against Artur Beterbiev. Now, talk us through that fight, because there was a bit of controversy in the first couple of rounds.
Yeah, a little bit. I had my head through the ropes. The ref shouted, "Stop, stop, stop!" And as I'm coming round, he's knocked me into next week. I can't really remember too much about it. Obviously, what I can remember about it is what I've seen on the video. But all I can remember is sort of being there, and then the next thing I'm looking at the canvas and thinking, "Wow, what happened there?" But then I come back and got him in the second round, and fair play to him, he got me in the end, didn't he? So it was a good shootout while it lasted.
Talk to us about the power. Like we people see him in boxing as like the most ferocious puncher, pound for pound, on the planet at the minute, comparable to guys like Golovkin and Marvin Hagler and Mike Tyson even. That's the sort of range that we're talking about here. But what actually was it like when he was hitting you around the arms and stuff? Is it as serious as they all say?
Yeah, well, again, when I was in the ring, you're full of adrenaline, your blood's pumping. I never really felt like I was feeling it when I was in there, but obviously looking back at the tape, he was hitting my arms and he was knocking me side to side, and his power was obviously frightening because when he landed, he put me over. But yeah, it was a strange one, because when I was in there, I didn't really feel like it was that bad, but obviously it was. I mean, obviously it was. The results shows it was. The fight shows it was, and his record shows it was. So
when you landed that shot that put Beterbiev on the canvas, at that point in your head, is there something that goes, "I've got him going here. I've got him beaten"?
Yeah, I don't think I realised how hurt he was at the time, to be fair. But all the way through the fight, I was thinking to myself, I had that thought in my head that I will get him again. I will get him at some point. Like, you never think you're going to get done yourself when you're in there. So, I was always thinking, I will get him. And then, obviously, it was game over. He got me.
Absolutely. Now, on January 28th, live on BT Sport, it's Anthony Yarde's turn. Anthony's a massive underdog. Do you think he has a chance?
Yeah, I think he has a chance, because everybody has a chance. And Yarde can punch himself. He can really punch. And Beterbiev's 38 now, is he? Or nearly 38. So there is going to be a time when he has got to get old at some point. But if I'm honest, I don't think it's yet, and I don't think it's going to be against Anthony Yarde. I think he's up against it, and I don't see him winning the fight. I mean, but I could be wrong, because he can punch, and there is always that chance.
Do you think that we talked about this with Anthony Yarde, that no doubt that he's an underdog in the fight, and look at what Beterbiev has done up until this point in his career. But in some bookies, you can get him as wide as 6-1, Anthony Yarde against. Do you think that's a little bit too wide, considering it's in the UK?
I don't think it makes any difference where it is, if I'm honest. Beterbiev's, he's had, 300 amateur fights, travelled the world. He's not scared of coming to the UK, so I don't think that'll make any difference. It's worth a bet, to be fair, at that price, isn't it? But Yeah, you're just looking at the performances of both fighters and what both fighters have done, and you can't really see it any other way, in my opinion, because he's Beterbiev, but he is what he is, and he's done what he's done, and he's arguably the most feared fighter out there, or the most dangerous fighter out there for a reason.
I think this is something that people don't realize about when you talk about his power, and you know all about how hard he can punch, but Beterbiev, at a point as an amateur, he actually fought at heavyweight, and he was knocking guys out with head guards and big soft gloves on as a heavyweight. So it's gotta be, it's gotta be frightening when you're in there with him.
Yeah. And not only that as well, because he is so strong and so powerful, people forget about his boxing ability. I mean, he was a world amateur champion. He never won the Olympics, but in Beijing, he maybe should have done. I think he was robbed against a Chinese fellow that went on and won it. He got beat by Usyk up at heavyweight. So, you're talking at that level of amateur. He was one of the best amateurs out there as well. So his boxing ability is superior to what people give him credit for.
I mean, it sounds like it's going to be an uphill battle for Anthony from your opinion. How do you stop a man? How do you beat a man who's got 18 wins, 18 knockouts from 18 fights?
I think the way I went about it, I think you've got to beat him at his own game somehow. But how is that possible? I mean, no one's done it yet. I think you've got to stick it on him and hurt him and make him realise that you're here to fight, and because he's so used to people getting on the back foot, giving ground, trying to box him, trying to outbox him and stay away from his power. He's used to that. All the way through the amateurs, that's all the opponents ever did, because he was that strong and that powerful in the amateurs. So that's his game. When people do that, he loves it. So when someone's pushing him back or trying to push him back and hitting him hard themselves, that's actually unusual to him, in my opinion. So that's maybe the only way. But is anybody big enough, strong enough, powerful enough at 175? Probably not.
That's the thing. The opponent, whoever it is always going to be up against it. Even if it's Bivol, who's the other guy with a world title, I think that the bookies are going to have Beterbiev the favourite. But do you think that Yarde's speed is something that gives Beterbiev issues?
You've got to look at what Yarde's got. He's got speed, he's got power, he can box. He's got a nice defence and he moves well and he's very, very good. But again, I just keep going back to, has Yarde got anything that Beterbiev's never seen or never dealt with before? And I don't think he has. Which is, I don't want to be biased or, I'd quite like Yarde to pull it off, if I'm honest, just for the fact of it's always nice to see the underdog come through and the belt's changing hands and the belt's coming to the UK. But then obviously there's a part of me that would like Beterbiev to win just because, he beat me, and if Yarde beats him, it's like, but I don't know. I just can't see a way for him to win, if I'm honest.
Yeah. By the way, I completely get that. You want to see a Brit win, don't you? Because you're a fellow Brit. But if the guy that he's fighting is beating you, I think I'd be in the same boat. I'd be like, well, I want Beterbiev to win because then it doesn't look my defeat. Lucas, but you know what I mean? I know fights.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like
styles make fights.
If I'd never boxed Beterbiev, I think I'd want Yarde to win 100% because, like, bringing the belts back to the UK, bringing the belts back to the Frank Warren stable, just everything about it. You always want to support the home fighter, but as you say, with him beating me, it's like, like. And I have to be honest, if I was made to choose who I wanted to win, without lying, I think I'd have to say Beterbiev for that reason.
Well, looking forward to seeing you against Derek Chisora in maybe in the not too distant future. We'll get that set up. Thank you so much for coming on. Always appreciate it. Great insight from a man who's obviously shared the ring with Anthony Yarde's opponent, Beterbiev.